I'm in charge.
In charge.
But you can lead the episode. We have to... I want to mention right at the beginning, before you've even said anything, after I've said that you can lead the episode, I want to mention that I've got a sock on my microphone again, just so Bill knows.
Okay. A sock on the end of you.
Yeah, we were recording once in Melbourne, actually, and she made a huge amount... She really made fun of me, didn't she, Chris? I would say close to bullying.
Who,
Yeah.
me?
Yeah. No, Belle.
No.
Oh,
One of our
right,
favourite
okay.
guests.
I was like, I've never witnessed the floppy sock on the end of your microphone before.
And she really berated me for having this sock on my microphone. And I had to explain that I'm a semi-professional podcaster and I know what I'm doing. And the sound for that episode was good, but, I got insulted. And we're doing it again.
It is indeed a hack. It is a hack. So, it's a known thing.
Yeah.
My
People do
mic's
it.
too bulbous to do it, I reckon.
You
It's
need a
the
bigger sock,
round
mate.
one.
You know what they say?
On that note... Hello and welcome back to the Bookcast Club, a podcast for book lovers. I'm Jenny, coming to you from Norwich in the UK. Sarah is here from the Netherlands and Chris is coming from Indianapolis in the US. It's episode 1, season 1. We're already recording these all out of order, so this is going to be the new way of things that we try and keep track of what episode we're recording. But this is number 1. This is us saying hello after... I don't know how many months off now. 5,
quite a
maybe,
few.
by the
Yeah.
time this is out.
Something like that. Yeah. We just recorded an episode, but yeah, aside from that, I hadn't recorded since November, I think. Something like that.
Wow.
Maybe I did a Patreon episode randomly. That was a bit of a
Yeah.
fever dream. Don't remember. Yeah. Here we are.
Here
quite
we
weird.
are. We're
Back
back,
to it.
officially.
And we're very happy to talk to you guys again.
Yeah, sorry, lack of enthusiasm. We should be more enthusiastic. Exactly.
Yes, we're very
We're
enthusiastic.
really happy. We've just recorded another episode. So that's
Just
why
recorded.
We're very mellow. Yeah, we are. We are happy. I'm very, very excited, so interested to see how this new era of the podcast goes. I think it's going to be good. I think. We had a small break. I had a small breakdown last week about it, but I think we're back on track, you guys. Is that true?
Yeah, it's going to go great.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, we're here, so that's a start. This is like our kickoff episode, I guess, where we're just going to have a chat, I think, about reading and goals and how things are going, and maybe share some of the episodes we've got coming up over the next few weeks, because it's very weird, because how things are going to work means you're going to hear us quite regularly once this episode goes live.
Should you wish to listen?
Should you wish? Yeah.
Did you see I put that note in the episode outline, just so chaotically?
What note?
I just wrote, "Does Chris want to talk about his channel?" ?
Chris.
My channel. Yeah, what is going
Do
on
you
with
want
my
to tell
channel?
your truth, Chris? You haven't even talked to us about
What
it.
is my
I must
truth?
say. You just did that thing and you haven't talked about it.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so I deleted all the videos on my channel.
Oh, yes. No, you did tell me you'd done this.
Yeah, I think I actually mentioned it in a Patreon episode. So for anybody who listens that also watch the YouTube channel, I basically had like a catastrophe of identity. That's not really true. That's a real dramatic way of saying that. I read a book called Doppelganger by Naomi Klein, and it really got me thinking about like the fact that like ghost cells of you just kind of live on the internet. And it started to become weirder and weirder and weirder to think about like my 22-year-old self just kind of like being on the internet and having opinions and people interacting with those opinions. And like, I don't know, the whole thing was just like, And it's interesting because when I started a YouTube channel, one of the things that I thought I would always love about it is that it was like a permanent record of like what I had been reading and what my thoughts on what I was reading was at the time. And I thought that would never actually bother me. But in fact, maybe the thoughts and opinions you have about literature when you're 22 shouldn't be enshrined in amber for perpetuity. Maybe it's okay if they have an expiry.
Yeah, I totally. This is such a minor thing relative to your hugely famous experience, Chris. But
I did get recognized on Grindr.
yeah, we know.
Oh, yes, the Grindr story, yeah.
I'll mind you, a proper celebrity is speaking.
He's big on the grinds. God, that's just distracted me. What was I saying? Oh yeah, I lost access to my Goodreads because there was some merger that I missed and I didn't migrate my Facebook account. Whatever, blah blah blah. I've lost access to my Goodreads, and so now my opinions that I wrote, 15 to 25, are all up there forever, and I'm like, fuck. I wish I deleted it long ago. I was pretty edgy.
If you think that's bad, I lost access to a Goodreads account that I had when I was 15.
I dread to think what you were saying.
Oh, I was right in reviews.
Yeah, I mean, I know you now. I knew what you were saying when you were in your early 20s. I dread to think what you were saying.
Yeah, it was bad.
Yeah, it's edgy, isn't it? When you're a teenager, you know better than... You can read any famous classic book and be like, well, actually...
Rubbish.
Although I do think Fahrenheit 451 is a bad book. I stand by that. But
Lord. So yeah, I don't have videos up on my channel right now. I am thinking about doing videos again, right? Like, I'm not against the idea of doing videos, but I really want to take a very different approach to the way I do the YouTube channel. It would definitely be something where, like, maybe I uploaded like a video a month, if that, but it was something that I was just like really wanted to talk about, or like, you know, and just let myself work at that pace and not worry about filming crap like book hauls and wrap ups just to fill time, you know, like why?
yeah, I agree. I've always really not liked that content, and I found it really hard to watch, actually, especially book hauls. Some people really like book hauls. So if you don't know, like, the YouTube internet world, the YouTube
like
book
'em.
world, well, we know about, that's where book hauls are where people literally show what they bought. Which I don't know. I just found it really weird to look at people's receipts, essentially. I was like, I don't care. I don't know. I find that weird.
I do care. I'm nosy.
Yeah.
And I have a book buying addiction, so it makes me feel better about myself.
It's interesting. I really need to read that book. Because so where did we talk about this book? Because it must have been a Patreon episode in January.
Women's Prize.
Well, and favorites of the year. I talked about.
Okay, because I've heard you guys talking about it, but I haven't interacted with you talking about it. I feel like I really need to read this book because it sounds really, really interesting. I think it was on the Women's Prize for non-fiction long list, right?
That's why me and you talked about it in the
Did we,
Patreon
Jen?
episode. We did.
Oh, God, black out. It's so bizarre. Sometimes I completely lose track of, like, I won't say that listening to Chris and talking to him are the same thing, but sometimes I don't know if I've heard you say it on Instagram, if I've actively had a conversation with you about it, if I, like, heard you and Jen talking about it in a podcast. Or sometimes I've had this conversation with you, but then I edited the episode and I'm like, was he saying that to me or did I just edit it? Like, I don't know. There's all these like sound bites in my head. And I'm like, did I hear that? Was that information from me? Was that to me? Was that about me? I don't know. But I do. So I just have isolated bits of information in my head. And one of those isolated bits of information is that I need to read Doppelganger because it sounds lit.
Yeah. One of the few books that has inspired me to immediate action.
So how are you feeling about it now? When was this? Like 2 months
Honestly,
ago?
really good. Yeah, it must have been about 2 months ago at this point that I just deleted every video. I mean, part of me thought about like going through and keeping the ones I wanted to keep, and then I was like, nah, why? Like, what's the point?
So you've lost all... I was kind of surprised you deleted some of your interview ones. Did you delete them?
They're privated, so it's a bit... it would be possible to resurrect, and I have thought about going through and resurrecting what I want to, but... yeah, we shall see.
So how's your reading been, Chris?
Well...
is it better or worse without the, I don't know, channel kind of...
in some ways, I actually think it's better. I feel more inspired to just read by mood. I think, like, something I'm struggling right now with reading, in that I really want a book that's really well written. And then I also really want, like, a fun fantasy book. And I want that book to be the same thing. And I'm on the hunt for something that satisfies both, and kind of coming up short. But what I am reading right now is I have started a book that's on the Women's Prize for Fiction long list. And I've actually been able to get a lot of those books out from my library. So I have started Ordinary Human Failings by Megan Dolan? Nolan?
Dolan.
Is it Megan Nolan or Dolan?
Dolan, I think.
Dolan.
I don't know, make me doubt myself now.
One of the two. A book that I find the writing of to be very assured, yet I put it down and I don't feel particularly inspired to like pick it back up. One last thing I was going to say on the whole like wanting fantasy but also wanting it to be very well written, I have to sneeze. Sorry, that was really dramatic.
This episode
Is this the episode? Have we restarted?
Yeah, well, I'm going to edit it and I'm going to keep that in.
Oh, sorry. Anyway, I saw at the bookstore the other day a copy of the Northern Lights. It was the bind-up, though. It was a bind-up of all three, and it had been done up in the Everyman's Library edition. It was stunningly beautiful. And I started reading it in the bookstore again, and I realized, actually, I think I want to reread this, and that might kind of scratch the whole, like, wanting fantasy, but also wanting it to be very well written.
Yeah, that's a good shout, I think. I'm not a huge fan of that series, to be honest with you, but yeah, but I think that's a good shout. Have you heard of Robin Hobb?
I have indeed. Yeah. I think I've heard a couple people like her. Some people I trust really enjoy her, so I think I might have to give her a go.
Yeah, all right.
What about your reading then, Sarah?
Me? None of your business, mate.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all right. Not amazing. We might save that for the sort of broader goals of the year, I think, and I'll just tell a little sad story about my life. But it's fine. We're all right. We're doing fine. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. What about you, Jen? What's your reading like?
Oh yeah, Jen. Forgot about her. Oh, what about you, Jen?
I think we've all had a slow start, although I feel like it's picking up now. I don't. Is it the Women's Prize being announced? I have no idea.
It's lit a fire under me a little bit. I gotta admit.
Yeah,
I'm really
maybe
liking the
it
Women's
has.
Prize content. Yeah.
Yeah, the Women's Prize for me this year it feels a little fresher. I'm not going to have
Agreed.
my normal criticism and complaint about it. So I've actually put a couple of the books on hold, and I'm moderately
Which
enthusiastic.
ones?
Oh, which ones? God, you want all the details. What is this, a book podcast? Oh, which ones? I'm so unprepared for this question as well. I thought I could just drop that and say some of them.
Nope. We expect homework to be complete.
You expect, yeah, okay. Some of them are from, right, The Maiden by Kate Foster. I've got out from the library at the moment. That's a Women's Prize.
The one I'm the least interested in.
Well, it just was at my library, all right, fuckhead.
Yeah.
Sorry to. Am I allowed to say that? I'm saying it.
Beep it.
And then I've got a couple of Stella books, because the Stella long list looks really good this year as well. And then I've also got Soldier Sailor by Claire Kilroy and Restless Dolly Maunda by Kate Grenville, which was simply the ones that were available from my library, because I'm not paying for no Women's Prize book. I don't think so. And then I've got like 6 of the Stella books either on hold or on loan at the moment, which is also
Wow,
great.
you're going to be busy.
Yeah, I mean, I probably won't read them, but I'm enthusiastic. Who cares?
I have 10 of the Women's Prize books out from the library, so
10. That's a good hit for
Yeah.
you that you can get that many.
I was surprised.
Yeah, I'm also surprised. I can only get 3, which is a very low number for me. So there must be a bit of a pivot. I haven't really looked too closely at which publishers are have books in the long list, but there must be a bit of a pivot, because normally I can get a lot more than you can, I would say.
The one I'm the most interested in reading, though, is the one I can't get a hold of, which is Soldier Sailor.
Oh, well, I've got that on hold, as you just heard. So what a shame.
I know.
What a shame.
I'm jealous.
I'll send you voice notes and say, oh, it's so good. Oh, it's so good, Chris. I probably won't read it. That's
Just
probably what's
rub my
gonna
nose
happen.
in it.
Yeah, I'll be like, oh yeah, I had that.
We could plug our Patreon a little bit here, because we're still doing Patreon episodes every month, and Chris and I will be chatting about the Women's Prize for Fiction long list in
Exciting.
our next episode.
I might be
Very
demanding to get in
exciting.
on that. Who knows?
Yeah, Sarah's just
She's
gonna
put 3
turn
books
up.
on hold at the library. Maybe things are changing. Who knows?
I know.
Can't see me complaining in a month. Like, oh, hey.
There was no Greek retelling.
I know. That's what stimulated my my interest. To be honest with you, I thought, hello. Let's go. I mean, there wasn't one. No, there was one last year. The year before, there technically wasn't one, but whatever.
Most of the books I was happy to see were also quite short, so like it was a little less intimidating. I mean, I'm not against a chunky book in there, don't get me wrong, but there have been years before where there's a lot of
Chunkers.
longer books, and
There's
yeah,
lots of chunkers last year.
Yeah, God, there was a lot of chunkers last year.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What was on there? What Demon Copperhead? I can't remember what else was
There was
released.
also a fake chunker in there as
Oh,
well,
yeah, I was
because The Marriage Portrait was not a chunker.
Oh yeah, that's right.
The British publishers lied.
I was going to say the Maggie O'Farrell one.
They gave that book a Brazilian butt lift. It's not real. It wasn't that thick.
Okay, can we move on?
Moving on. Are we going to talk goals?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Let's get into it. So, I don't have any goals this year, like at all. I have a bit of a stressful and hectic year coming up, and sort of all the ways in which you could turn your life, do have like a big change in your life in terms of. So I'm moving countries this year, and I am having a huge career change, and I had my long-term relationship has ended recently. So, in terms of things you can do in your life that are huge, all of those things have happened to me. So, I am not focusing too much on goals, reading goals or anything this year. I'm just sort of trying to survive and do a reasonably good job, is the idea. But I am trying at the moment, because I have so much sort of tumultuous ongoing stuff in my life, which is huge, and it's easy to get quite stressed about if I let myself think about it for too long. And I think about like sort of the metadata of my life. I'm like, oh God, everything's dreadful. I'm trying more to focus. My sort of idea for the year is to focus more on like small things that you can control in the day that bring you small amounts of joy. So that is reading is one of those. So I'm trying to like structure small time for my hobbies back in, which I've completely lost, to be honest with you, over the past like year. And I've been building that back in slowly, and it's been really good, actually. So, yeah, so I guess not so much of a goal, but something that I've been focusing on over the last few months is trying to make this carve out these small amounts of time for things that are small and are achievable, and I've been really appreciating that. I hope that makes sense. Is that a goal? That's my goal.
No, that makes complete sense.
Cool.
I feel the sentiments of that very strongly.
Have you hit any of those 3 points? Imagine.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely haven't hit any of the same crises that you have. I don't want to call them crises, just major life shifts. I haven't had those, but I have very much struggled with my love of reading over the past year. I never thought in my life I would be somebody who didn't read every day. I remember, just a few years ago, I felt like, oh, if I don't read every day, like, I really feel it. I'm in a bad mood. I'm upset, and not anymore. I go 3, 4, 5 days without reading, and it's just perfectly fine, like my brain doesn't start screaming at me that I need to read. And it's sad because I want reading to kind of occupy. I'm probably never going to go back to the type of person I was that read 100 books a year. But I don't want to be somebody who only reads like 10, I want to find kind of a middle ground, and it's been kind of difficult to find the time lately. So I really want to kind of just, if I don't want to put a page goal on myself on like how many pages I want to read a day, but I want to carve out 30 minutes a day that I spend with a book.
Yep.
Because at some point in time during the day, I should be able to carve out 30 minutes for reading. Because the problem I have is that because I'm picking up the book less and less frequently, it's also less and less pleasurable because there's so much time between reading sessions. And the last time you were with these characters or with this theme or with this writing, then it doesn't feel as continuous or impactful, or I don't think the books are really meant to be split up over that many days, so that has been the biggest challenge I would like to fix this year, is just kind of finding that small, consistent reading habit again.
Yeah, agree. I think we're all on the same page here, really, just sort of making it part of your daily habit. I haven't even set a goal. I haven't been on Goodreads, but I also haven't set a goal on Storygraph either, which I've never not done. So yeah, no target, which is quite nice too. Not that I, bend over backwards to try and hit it, but just the fact that I haven't even bothered to set one and I'm not bothered is a change from previous years. So yeah, just doing it for the joy of reading.
Yeah,
I haven't set a goal
for the vibes.
either. I think it's interesting, you guys, that all three of us have kind of travelled in the same direction with our reading for completely different reasons. There's not a lot of overlap, I would say, between our three personal lives, but we've all kind of been this might be too deep for the restart episode, but we've all been these kind of like massive readers that it was like a huge part of your identity, like in our 20s. How old are you, Chris?
I am, God, never ask a lady her age. I'm going to be 29 this year.
Okay. Chris is having a premature like moving into his 30s time period, but sure.
Yeah.
Maybe when you hit your 30s, you'll be ahead of me and Jen. But I do feel like, through our 20s, it was like a huge part of our identity, and particularly reading a massive amount and it being like a huge thing was a part of our identity. And we all seem to have sort of moved in this direction, late 20s, early 30s, where you have to sort of re-navigate that and figure out like if it's important to you, and it just becomes less possible. And for all three of us, for completely unrelated reasons, which is interesting. It's not like we've all had kids or whatever. Yeah, so it's just interesting that we're all on this sort of like parallel path where we should be kind to ourselves.
Yeah, I just didn't like... I didn't have many other hobbies up until a few years ago. It was just the thing I did with my time, you know what I mean? And now I've got a few other things that I'm like really into, and it's just difficult to make space for the reading. And at first I kind of, when I started noticing the reading kind of slipping, I really felt guilty about it. But now I'm kind of like past the feeling of guilt about it, because I'm like, I really enjoy doing these other things I'm doing. They bring me a lot of joy. They're very important to me. And it's okay that like I'm not reading as much. Like, this is fine.
I mean, I'm a bit older than you two, so this happened to me a while ago, where, I don't know, life gets busier, and you do other things, and you have other things that fill up your time, and then actually reading becomes something that you have to work quite hard to fit into your life because you enjoy it. So just like Sarah, always reading before I go to bed, basically. And for me, it generally is half an hour. That's all I can manage. Yeah, but I still love it, and that time's important to me. This is where we pop a little ad break in to tell you about all the different ways you can support the pod, most of which are totally free. We'll start with Patreon, as this is where we've been hiding the past few months. Tiers start at £2 a month, with our bonus episode tier costing just £5. Now that we're seasonal and generally recording ahead of time, Patreon is where you will find all our timely conversations on recent and current reads, DNFs, book prizes and lots more. You can try our bonus tier for free today. We highly encourage a binge listen to our back catalogue of bonus episodes, and we'll take no offence if you choose to cancel afterwards. If you love receiving book mail and personalised recommendations, our top tier is for you. We get you to fill in a survey, and then we tailor our book recommendations to your preferences. Find all the details in our show notes. Now for the free ways to support us that make a huge difference. A really effective and easy way of showing your support is by rating and reviewing us on Apple Podcasts. There is a link in the show notes that will take you straight to the Apple Podcast page where you can write a review. If you listen on Spotify, you can also very easily give us a star rating. You can also share our posts on social media. We're at Bookcast Club on Instagram and TikTok. You can sign up to our newsletter on Substack, where we share even more book recommendations, our pick of the new releases, and all the latest podcast news. But the best way for us to find new listeners is by you telling your book-loving friends and family about us. However you choose to show your support, we, as always, want to say a huge thank you. We appreciate each and every one of our listeners.
What we wanted to do in the last part of our episode today is to give you guys a little bit of a sneak peek into some of the episodes that you can expect from us this season. We have decided to kind of change up the way that we do the podcast. So instead of having bi-weekly releases throughout the year, the way we were doing in the past, instead we're going to have 2 seasons, each of them including 10 weekly episodes, where we're going to have things like book club episodes, book to films, author spotlight discussions, inviting guests on to talk about certain genres or subgenres, and all the usual bookish chats that you have been accustomed to us. We're kind of hoping that this allows us to kind of do more streamlined episodes, and also frankly works a little bit easier on our schedules as hosts. So let's talk about some of the episodes that the good folks can look forward to us here in the next coming weeks.
They're good episodes. I'm excited about them, she says from her sickbed. They are good episodes. I think they're cool. I'm being very much propped up here by Chris and Jenny, by the way, listeners. I'm very ill. They're just like, do
Poor
the podcast.
Sarah's poorly.
Sarah's very
Getting
poorly.
her through to the end.
So the episode that's coming out next is the North Woods one, which is you guys talking about the book North Woods. Who is that by again? I can't remember.
Daniel Mason.
Daniel Mason. What did you say, Jen?
Daniel? I'm laughing because me and Chris, I don't know, whenever we talk about that book, we're like, what's the guy's name?
Yeah, I can
Every time.
see the book cover like so clearly, and I just can't get his name in my head. It's too generic,
Yeah.
I think. Then, do you want to tell us about the next episode, Jen? That's one that you did with Abby.
Oh yeah, so me and Abby have already recorded this, but we have done an episode on unlikable female narrators / characters, which was a really fun one to record. Yeah, apparently some of our favourite characters are women that aren't very likeable, so yeah, we have a great conversation on that.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to listening to that one. I haven't heard it yet. And then after that, Chris and I are doing an episode which I'm really excited about, which we haven't recorded yet, which is we're going to talk about Hannah Kent and her 3 novels, which I'm really keen for because I really love her. So I've been rereading her books over the summer. I've just been in Australia for a few months, so I've been rereading her books, and I'm really excited because she's amazing.
She is really good. I'm rereading those books. It's amazing how much I had forgotten how good she was. I was like rereading them. I was like, oh, she's actually brilliant. And then besides the Hannah Kent episode, Sarah and I are also going to be doing an episode looking at the book and film The Killers of the Flower Moon, which I'm very excited about, mostly for the film because I like Martin Scorsese.
I'm excited to hear you two talk about that one.
Yeah, I've started the film. I'm actually really liking it so far.
Very much looking forward to talking about that one. One of the most biggest sellers in nonfiction in quite a while.
Yeah, I feel like the film didn't make that much of a splash. Here it had a super short runtime. I keep having conversations we need to have in the episode. Be quiet, Sarah. I'm looking forward to that episode. And then the last one that we'll talk about now is an episode where we cover 3 short stories, which is all 3 of us, which we just recorded, and it was lovely. And that's a good episode,
yes.
I think. Yeah.
Good story choices.
And lots of exciting episodes that you guys can look forward to. And you don't have to wait very long for them because it's going to be weekly releases.
Yeah, so the first one will come out the week after this one comes out. The first one being the Northwoods episode. Very exciting.
And I'm excited. We recorded that a while ago, so I'm excited to listen to it again.
Yeah.
I'm excited to hear what I said. But yeah, it was a good book and a good conversation, I think. So yeah, that'll be next week. So we're talking about the podcast in like a weekly format.
Jenny can't deal with this, like,
I can't. It literally blows my mind.
I feel like you have a knee-jerk no reaction to it, Jen, to be honest. You're like, I can't do it.
If I think about it too much, it panics me.
I know it
Oh,
does.
we'll do great.
And then you start to tell everyone that it's very confusing. And I'm like,
Yeah.
no, Jen, negative self-talk. Don't do it.
Yeah, well, that's it for today then. That was a little like Kickstarter before
Yes.
the real pod starts. But yeah, it's nice to be back chatting, the 3 of us. We've not
Yeah,
done
it
this
is.
for a while.
It's going to be a lot of fun. And I'm very excited to see how you guys enjoy the new format. I think it will work both better for the listener and better for the talkers.
Yeah, I think so too. I'm really excited about it. Thank you for listening. We hope you enjoy. And yeah, we hope you enjoy the new format.
As always, there are loads of ways that you can get in touch with us with questions, ideas, feedback, recommendations. You can email us on thebookcastclub@outlook.com, or you can get in touch with us on Instagram, where we are at Bookcast Club. You can sign up to our newsletter for more reviews, new releases, podcast recommendations and updates on the pod, and you can check out our Patreon and try our 7-day free trial. But for now, goodbye, and we'll be with you again next week.
Bye.